Today I'm tackling this pile of junk and giving my hallway a mini makeover with DIY leather handles. A big thank you to Cricut for sponsoring this video and supporting this channel. First thing I did was take everything out and purge the items that I didn't need anymore, and then consolidate all the things that I did want to keep. I could have spent money on pretty container boxes to hide the stuff that I was keeping, but I much prefer reusing what I already have. So I put back the curtain with a tension rod. It not only hides the stuff, but it also creates a neutral backdrop for displaying some of the prettier items that I want to keep, like this cute little elephant. It was in pretty bad shape with the finish peeling off, but I wanted to bring it back to life. So I scraped off all the flaking paint and then painted over it with acrylic paint that matched the gray, and then sealed everything with some polyurethane. Amazing what a little bit of elbow grease can do. With this area looking so much prettier now, it finally gave me the motivation to swap out these old knobs that I've never liked. I thought leather pulls like I made for my nightstand would look really nice. I had used my Cricut Maker machine to make them based off of these leather handles that I saw on Amazon. I used them as my starting point for the dimensions and the location of the holes. Because of the simple shape of these handles, it was easy for me to replicate the design within the Cricut design space itself, so I didn't have to deal with getting an SVG file or doing any graphic design. I first drew the rectangle to the height and width that I wanted, and there's a simple trick to getting these rounded edges. You start off by drawing 4 small circles. I went with circles that have a diameter of 0.375 inches. It's important to place the circles at each corner in a way that the edges of the circle line up perfectly with the edges of the rectangle. You duplicate the circles the same way that you do in any software by using the copy-paste command. And you will see as you're doing this that all of the shapes are showing up as layers on the right hand side. Now you have 5 layers, 1 rectangle and 4 circles. For each corner, you select the rectangle and the circle in that corner, and then you use the slice command, which essentially cuts out the circle from the rectangle. The next command is contour, and that will allow you to select the 4 tiny little corners that we want to hide. The final step is to select all the circles and the rectangle and use the weld command to create one solid shape. At this point, you will have 1 layer which has the rectangle with rounded corners. The last part is making the holes for the hardware. To do that, I drew 3 circles and sized them to work with the hardware that I'm using. I placed them on the rectangle using the X and Y coordinates and used the align function to make sure that they were centered horizontally. Then I used the slice function again to cut out the circles out of the rectangle. The last step is to delete all of the leftover circles. Now it's time to do the actual cutting. I used the Cricut soft leather that I placed face down on a strong grip mat. It's best to use a fresh mat that's very sticky, and also to firmly press down everywhere so that the leather is well bonded to the mat. This will make sure that it stays in place while it's being cut. This leather wasn't quite as thick as I would have liked for the pulls, so I doubled them up and glued 2 of them together. I learned from watching a few leather crafting YouTube videos that sanding the backs of the leather before putting the glue helps the bonding, and I also used leather glue that I got from Amazon. For the first pulls, I only put glue on 1 piece and then used a mallet to attach the 2 pieces together before then clamping them to dry. For the other handles, I skipped the sanding and put glue on both pieces. I also skipped the mallet step and just clamped them to dry, and that worked really well. Because I was using cap nuts and bolts that had a rather large diameter, I needed to drill a bigger hole to accommodate the hardware. I didn't mind doing that for my nightstand, but I didn't want to alter the hallway cabinets in any way because I'm a renter and I will need to put back the original knobs when I move out. Initially, I wanted to reuse the existing screws, but they weren't long enough. So I got similar screws, just a little bit longer, And then I used a combination of washers to protect the leather around the edges of the hole and to prevent the screw head from going through the hole. This type of hardware is different from what is typically used for leather pulls, but I like this more industrial look, and I like that it only cost a couple of dollars for the extra screws and washers. It was so easy and a lot of fun to make my own leather handles, and I can't wait to use my Cricut Maker machine to make lots more projects to spruce up my home. These new leather handles added a lot of warmth and character to an area that had become quite an eyesore in a very uninspiring hallway. Hopefully, seeing this small makeover will inspire you to take on that neglected corner in your home that's become an eyesore. If you're interested in finding out more about Cricut machines, I'll link the videos that I made that go into much more detail about how they work and what they do. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you're looking for any information on the things that I mentioned, I'll be putting all of that in the video description below. And if you're looking to see what I'm up to day to day, join me on Patreon and follow me on Instagram. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.